stuck with. So we were at this point. Okay, I told you that he titrated NaOH with the entire mixture, and when he did that, 0.045 moles were used, and we figured out that out of the 0.045 moles that of NaOH that were being added, 0.005 moles of NaOH are going to go and react with the HCl. So what are the rest of the 0.04 moles reacting with? So the rest of the 0.04 moles are reacting with the carboxylic acid, which is ethanoic acid in this case. They're going to go and react with the ethanoic acid, CH3COH, and that's 1:1 as well, because it's going to form a salt. It's going to form CH3CO -1, Na +1, plus a water molecule. So it's 1:1. So that means the amount of ethanoic acid is going to be 0.04 moles as well. Now, listen to this carefully again. He added some amount of ethanoic acid and alcohol and added a catalyst and closed this container and waited for the equilibrium to reach after several days. Then he did a titration with NaOH, and the amount of moles that were added were 0.045 that took part in the reaction. We figured out that NaOH is a base, so NaOH is only going to react with the HCl and with the ethanoic acid. HCl is a catalyst, so HCl moles are not going to change even after several days because it's a catalyst. Catalysts don't get used up. So HCl moles are going to be 0.005. Those were the moles that were initially added into the container. So the amount of NaOH, it's 1:1. So the amount of NaOH that's going to react with the HCl is going to be exactly the same. And so out of 0.045 moles, we realized that 0.005 moles are going to react with, they're going to react with the HCl. So that means the rest of the moles are going to react with the carboxylic acid. So the rest of the 0.045, which is 0.04 moles, are going to end up reacting with the carboxylic acid. And it's 1:1. So the amount of carboxylic acid would be 0.04 moles that would be present. Is this clear up till this point, this question? TK, everyone else, is this clear? Oswa, is this clear? Aisha, Hania, is this clear? Yes. वो देखो ना कि ये clear है कि 0.045 moles were being added. I mean, this entire mixture, whatever this mixture was being titrated with NaOH. So you were adding 0.045 moles, right? Pehli cheez. We figured out the moles of NaOH that he was adding. Is that part clear?
Yes.
Okay. The next part was you had to figure out what is this NaOH reacting with. So we figured out that it's going to react with the HCl because it's an acid, and it would react with the ethanoic acid, which is also the acid. So the NaOH that you're adding is going to react with two of these things. जो हमने यहाँ पे लिख दिया, it's going to react with so it's going to react with the HCl, and it's going to react with the carboxylic acid. Is that part clear as well?
Yes, sir, that's right.
And then the next part was that the amount of HCl that you had added, and the amount of HCl that you had added was 0.005 moles. And यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है कि it was a catalyst, which means that it remains unchanged. I mean, even if you close the container for several days, the catalyst would remain unchanged. So the amount of HCl would be 0.005 moles. So the amount of NaOH that's going to react with it in 1:1 would be 0.005 moles as well. Is that clear as well?
Yes, sir, that's clear.
So the point is, ये सारा add किया था. You had added 0.045 moles. So you realize that 0.005 moles is getting used up. I mean, these were the total moles. So you realize that there's some amount of moles that's reacting with the HCl, and whatever is left is reacting with this other reaction, which is with ethanoic acid. Yani 0.045 moles were added. 0.005 moles took part in the first reaction. So the rest of the remaining moles of NaOH, which is 0.04, would take part in the reaction with ethanoic acid. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So, and it's 1:1. The equation says that they react in 1:1. So that means if you have 0.04 moles of NaOH, That means in this mixture, after several days, the amount of ethanoic acid present would be 0.04 moles as well. So we figured out the moles of ethanoic acid after several days. Clear है?
सर हमने जो NaOH का 0.04 मतलब मोल निकाले वो भी मतलब मास ओवर मोलर मास से मतलब वो हमने निकाला ना
नहीं, मैथ्स और मोनो मैथ्स हमने कहीं भी यूज नहीं किया. ये हमने शुरू में मोल्स निकाले थे ना, वॉल्यूम और कॉन्सेंट्रेशन वाज गिवन, राइट?
यस सर
तो 0.045 मोल्स थे ना टोटल दैट वर बीइंग एडेड.
जी
तो
या
वी तो उसमें पता लग गया कि HCl के साथ कितने रिएक्ट करें, 0.005.
या 0.005
तो बाकी 0.045 में से 0.005 इधर रिएक्ट करें तो बाकी कितने बचे?
जी सर 0.4
0.04 बचे.
0.04
तो वो
या
0.04 फिर इसके साथ रिएक्ट करे होंगे.
या रेशियो की वजह से
हाँ, मतलब टोटल 0.045 मोल्स ऐड कर रहे हो ना.
यस
तो
सर समझ आ गया अभी समझ आ गया
ठीक है. अच्छा, so the next thing is, so basically this whole thing, I mean, they've asked you all of this, write a balanced equation for the reaction, calculate the amount of NaOH that reacted with ethanoic acid. So we did all of that. Okay. Now the whole point of this question was that you figured out what you figured out is initially you had added 0.1 moles of ethanoic acid. And after several days, the amount of ethanoic acid that is present at equilibrium is 0.04. Because he did the titration after several days. So after several days, the ethanoic acid present is not 0.1 moles, it's actually 0.04 moles. So he made a table at the end that initially you added 0.1 moles, but when you did the titration after several days, the amount of moles that were present at equilibrium was 0.04 moles. इनके बीच में there's a reversible reaction between them. So you now have to figure out the moles of all the other substances. So now this is your KC question. Okay, you had added into the container 0.1 moles. And when you did the titration after several days, you figured out that the ethanoic acid present was just 0.04 moles. So that means 0.06 moles are missing. That means 0.06 moles, they reacted. And it's 1:1 in the equation. So 0.06 moles of alcohol would also have reacted. And the product would be produced. So it's 1:1. So 0.06 moles of product would be, they're going to be produced. And 0.06 moles of this would also be produced. So what will happen is out of the 0.1, 0.06 have reacted. So you're left with 0.04 moles at equilibrium. Initially you had 0 moles. Now 0.06 moles extra have been produced. So you have 0.06 moles of this. This is 0 moles as well. 0.06 moles are getting produced. So that means you're left with 0.06 moles as well. So at the end of the day, at the end of the whole question, you had to make this table. And this is what you had figured out using this titration. Okay, 0.1 was added. And when you titrated after several days, you just figured out, okay, right at the beginning, he had added 0.1 moles. But when he did the titration after several days, the amount of NaOH that was being used was only 0.04 moles that reacted with the ethanoic acid. So the amount of moles of ethanoic acid was 0.04 moles present. So that meant that these were the moles that were present at equilibrium. And you have figured out the moles of all the other substances. Is this clear, this table? TK, is this clear to everyone else? Also, is this clear, Hania? TK. So now you just have to figure out, calculate the value of Kc. Kc would be the product concentration, which is 0.06 into 0.06 divided by the reactant concentration, which is 0.04 into 0.04. Again, you don't have to find concentration because the numerator terms and the denominator terms would get cancelled out. I mean, if you divide by volume to find concentration, the volume part would get cancelled out because it's numerator over denominator, so the volume part would get cancelled out. So you can directly use moles. The rest is probably not that important. I just want to do the Casey questions. Just a second. It's this one was a difficult question, okay? Because it had a lot to do with moles. So they link up questions of Casey with moles. For example, this question is very simple. You just have to, I mean, a lot of questions would be very simple. He's asking you to calculate the value of Casey. Casey is product concentration divided by the reactant concentration, which is HI squared. And he's given you the concentration already. And calculate the value for Casey. So what he's given you is, for each of them, he's given you concentration. So you just have to plug in the values and you have to figure out the value of Casey. So this one is a very easy question. Just plug in these values and you'll find Casey. Let's see if we can find, I mean, not this type. We're going to do the second type of question in the next class. This is the second type of question. Just a second. So let's quickly do this last one. हाँ जी.
सर जो केमिकल इक्विलिब्रियम के लिए आपने जो मतलब वो लिंक्स आपने दिए वो सारे टॉपिक को कवर कर रहे हैं.
हाँ, लेकिन मैं देख लेता हूँ if there's a video missing, ठीक है? I'll send it.
Okay, sir.
So this one, let's just do one last question. Initial moles. What are the initial moles? 2 moles of this, 6 moles of H2, and 2.4 moles of ammonia. Those are your initial moles. 2 moles, 6 moles, and this is 2.4 moles. So what happens at equilibrium? He's saying that the container was sealed and it's a 1 dm cube container. So once equilibrium was reached, there's only 2.32 moles of nitrogen present. So at equilibrium, there's 2.32 moles. Come again, the amount of moles have decreased. You had 2.4, now you've got 2.32. So how many moles got used up? That means
0.8.
0.8 or 0.08? 0.08 reacted, right?
0.08.
So 0.08 are missing now. They've reacted. And they've reacted to produce what? एक side पे कम होंगे, दूसरी side पे ज़्यादा होंगे. 0.08 reacted. So they went on the other side and they got, so it's 2:3. So 0.08 according to this ratio would produce how much? It would produce, I think, 0.12. Right? Sorry, I mean, I made the mistake. It's not ammonia that's 2.32. It's actually nitrogen that's 2.32. I mean, this is 2.32. Okay, these are your equilibrium moles. So the amount of moles is increasing. It's you've got an extra 0.32. So that means 0.32 must have been produced. Okay, they got produced. 2 moles initially, now you have 2.32. And so if you want to produce 1, 3H2 would be produced as well. So according to the ratio, if 0.32 moles of N2 are getting produced, 0.96 moles of H2 would be produced as well. Because the amount of moles is increasing. So that's 0.32 getting produced. So according to the ratio, 0.96 of this would be produced as well. So the amount of moles at equilibrium would be 6.96. 6 moles was already there. Now you have an extra 0.96. And how much NH3 would have reacted to produce these? This is 1:2. So 0.32 to produce 0.32. Double the amount must have reacted.
0.64.
They must have reacted. So 0.64 is gone now. So you subtract 0.64. If you subtract 0.64 from this, what do you get? It's going to be 1.76. Okay, so I think it's going to be 1.76. And those are your equilibrium moles. All you have to do now is you have to find the value of Kc, which is NH3 concentration would be squared. So it's going to be 1.76 squared divided by the reactant concentration, which is N2, that's 2.32, multiplied by the other reactant, which is H2, and that's going to be cubed. So it's going to be 6.96, and that's going to be cubed. So I think it's A. A is going to be our answer. And over here, you had to find concentration because the terms would not cancel out. So concentration was easy because the volume was 1 dm cube. So everything to find concentration, everything should be divided by 1. Remember always to use concentration when the numerator terms and the denominator terms are not equal. I mean, this is squared, this is cubed, this is, so they're not going to get cancelled out over here in this case. So that's one last question. So remember this question, we did a lot of them to try going through this worksheet, and I'm sending this worksheet. So in the next class, we'll do the other type of questions, which is the reverse, which we didn't do over here. The only thing in the reverse question is that the Kc value would be given already. You're not going to be calculating Kc. Kc would be given, and in reverse, you would be trying to find the equilibrium concentration. In this case, the equilibrium concentration is given and you're trying to find Kc. Now you're going to do the reverse, okay? So we'll do those questions in the next class then. Your question to nahi hai iska? And Hania, do you have questions right now?
I have it after this class.
Okay. We can start now, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna send them to you on WhatsApp.
So everyone else, you can leave. TK will continue in the next class then. Allah Hafiz.